Today we have some cheap fragrance clones that actually last longer than the much more expensive original. So not only are you saving a ton of money, being able to get these for a fraction of the price, you're actually getting an increase in longevity and overall performance, which is just a huge bonus. And what can you hate about that? Because there's definitely a lot of back and forth when it comes to clones, especially now because they're more popular than they've ever been. And I can see both sides 100%, right? But when you can start to get an improvement for less money, it's hard to have an argument there, especially when you're paying hundreds of dollars for some of these originals and they don't give you the performance that you should get for that price. Not everything has to last 14, 16 plus hours, but there are some out there that perform very poorly for a huge cost. So this first one is checking off several boxes, okay? So it is Fragrance World Jack of Clubs. Now this is a clone of La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. So, let's work our way through this here. Bleu Electrique is discontinued now. It's expensive and it performs okay, but this one performs better. It's more affordable and you can get it easily. So that's three things right there that are an improvement with this one. Now there are other clones of Bleu Electrique out there as well, like Iconic Nuit by Grandeur here. Okay, now this one's a Bleu Electrique clone as well. Nice magnetic cap, good performance as well. You could go either direction. Whichever one is going to be readily available to you right now and maybe is the better price, you could go for. But no matter what way you go, you're saving money and you're getting a product that performs really well. They both do good. And Bleu Electrique has been just a really, really bizarre case because it came out and it got super popular and then went away. I mean, that one was around for about a year, maybe less than a year even as far as in production. Just when it hit discounters, it disappeared, got discontinued. And every now and then it will pop up on discounters and it always sells quick every time it does. And I send out an email and a text every time it does. So you do have the ability to still get this one at some point. It will come into stock, although briefly. But if you don't want to wait around and you want to save money, go for something like this. You're going to get good performance. You're going to get that modernized kind of La Nuit de l'Homme DNA smell, but with a little bit of the richness cardamom kind of OG smell too. That's how I've always described it. It's like a modern La Nuit de l'Homme, but with a little bit of that richness that existed in the first batches of it. That's Bleu Electrique in a nutshell, and that's why it was so popular, because it was bringing back the La Nuit de l'Homme that a lot of us got to experience when it first came out. I've got 4-digit first formulation batch code bottles of La Nuit de l'Homme, and while this isn't exactly the same to it, it's closer than what modern La Nuit de l'Homme is. So definitely a DNA worth checking out. So next up we have a hype beast. This one kind of popped up and started getting a ton of attention. It's Dumont Nitro Red. So I ended up buying this one finally. I had one, maybe two discounters reach out and say that they would send it to me, and I never took them up on that. I just ignored it, and then eventually I'm like, all right, I should get this, so I just bought it. I'm very late to this, I understand, trust me. I am not the first to discover this or any of the Dumont Nitro fragrances because there's a few more too, white, black, and maybe some more. Now this one has watermelon, apple, bergamot with some cedarwood and some other notes going on as well, but those are kind of some of the main ones. So when you look online, or at least for Fragrantica that is, you see it gets compared to Invictus, Rasasi House, and then a bunch more like some of the other Invictus flankers. For some reason, Baccarat Rouge 540. What else? There's a few more. I think maybe even the Ys were in there, Eau de Parfum and such. Kind of all over the board a little bit. So what do I think this one smells like? I think it is a very, very fruity take on an Invictus smell. I think this is by far the most fruity, watermelon, sweet smell that you could get out of like an Invictus style with that bubblegummy sweetness, because it does have that bubblegummy sweetness, which Invictus is known for. Do I think it's a clone of Rasasi House? No. Do I think it's a clone of Invictus Aqua? No. I think it kind of is utilizing that Invictus DNA and then just adding in a ton of fruits, like I just said. that's kind of where I'm at on this one. So kind of just another hybrid scenario. I don't think it's cut and dry. But I will say this, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And it's that watermelon in here. It smells phenomenal. This stuff could be very addicting. It's the type of thing that you could wear once and then the next day comes around and you might just pick it up and wear it again. You know, it just keeps you coming back for more. And I think part of it is just that opening. You know, it really hooks you and you just want to smell it again. Now this has great performance as well. This can easily rival modern day Invictus, so it's very strong. So again, while it's not cut and dried anything in particular, if you're kind of compare it to a style or a DNA like the Invictus DNA, just much more fruity, this one can hang. It's got really, really good performance at a much lower cost than what Invictus and some of its other flankers go for, and just some other fragrances in this DNA. Next up we have Rasasi. It's Essentiel for Men, coming in at an eau de parfum concentration. A really nice, you know, simplistic and pretty classy looking bottle. A lot of times when it comes to cologne brands, you know, their bottle presentations can be a little bit tacky. They can just look a little bit odd and they don't really blend in with the rest of your collection. Not the case here. Now, as you probably saw me demonstrate, and I don't know if it's just my bottle, this can happen. Oh, it's back to normal. I was gonna say, that atomizer sucks. Yeah, it's kind of does a little bit and then sometimes it'll free itself up, but yeah. I'm not gonna bust on this one too much for the atomizer. It still works, but it's a little bit off. So what's the deal with this one? It's a YSL L'Homme Ultime clone, and L'Homme Ultime was yet another one that essentially got discontinued at the peak of its hype. And I can think of that with a few fragrances, right? Invictus Aqua 2016, Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Cologne, L'Homme Ultime, right? There's just a few off the top of my head that were just at the top of the world in the fragrance community, making it in everybody's list, you know, for whatever month or time of the year that it was suitable for, just all over the place. And then discontinued. And then just like clockwork, you get a bunch of pushback because people get mad that they can't buy it anymore. We have no control over the production of anything. And so that happened with L'Homme Ultime as well. And then it was kind of like a frenzy of everybody trying to get their backup bottles in before it went away forever, which it did not too long after. But this is a really good kind of ginger, spicy spring scent, essentially. It smells fantastic. Ginger, rose combination. Predominantly fresh, but with a little bit of a spicy and semi-sweet floral kick. Not too much though. It's a very wearable, masculine, and fresh men's rose scent, and there aren't a ton of those out there. Typically you see rose combined with like an oud or something, and then you're kind of into fall and winter, a lot more daring. Not the case here. And so again, L'Homme Ultime, it's pretty much impossible to find now. Very rarely will it pop up, but few and far between and in very limited quantities. And you're going to be overpaying for it in a lot of instances if you're on eBay and things like that. Don't do that. Get this one. It's 25 bucks, okay? You can't beat that, and it has great performance too. You know, L'Homme Ultime was never known for having renowned performance or anything like that, but this one, it does a really good job. Okay, next up we have Haramain Amber Oud Carbon Edition. So this is one of many Creed Green Irish Tweed clones. You know, there's this one, and there's Armaf Très Nuit, and then there's going to be a bunch more as well, or some from Parfums Vintage. And for the most part, a lot of the major clone brands out there have a Green Irish Tweed clone, right? So you can kind of take your pick. I will say, out of the ones that I've tried, this is probably one of the highest quality ones. It's one of the most impressive clones. However, that does come with a cost as well. You know, Très Nuit is $25 or so. This one's going to be into the $40, $45 range, maybe even a bit more. Can't remember off the top of my head. It's still not coming anywhere close to the price of Green Irish Tweed though, so there are still some significant savings. And Très Nuit, it's a perfectly fine clone. It smells very close to it, and it has good performance for what it is, especially for a $25 scent. This one does have better performance. It performs better than Green Irish Tweed, which is nice, and it's much cheaper, and it smells fantastic. That opening is great. That green lemon verbena, iris, fresh combination. I mean, Green Irish Tweed is a true classic, and it's just going to be out of reach for a lot of people, and maybe you could justify it more if it had better performance, but it doesn't, and it never really has had amazing performance, although some of my older bottles, do have a bit better longevity than the newer ones. You know, I'm talking my 75 ml with the green, you know, felt kind of texture on the front. Those actually perform pretty good, but again, that's just a completely different time. So yeah, you could go for Haramain Amber Oud Carbon. It's gonna get you better performance than the original and still amazing quality too. Next up we have John Gustay Homme Amaze. This is by Fragrance World. You know, they don't mess around. Not only are they going after the presentation, they're going after even the names sometimes, and essentially they're getting the smell about spot on. They have many that are spot on. There's only one or two that have kind of been slight misses, at least in my opinion. Like for example, their Le Male Le Parfum clone. So it's John Gustay Homme, I think Le Parfum. It's sitting right over there off camera. The bottle looks just like the Le Parfum. It's very close, but not almost 100% like a lot of their others. It's still a fantastic clone, but that's one where they could have done better in my opinion. But that's just, you know, one out of several that they've hit nail on the head. So they're doing a good job. And this one, it does a great job at getting the Les Beaux Eau de Toilette smell as well. That kind of coconut and pineapple combination. It's a sweet summer gourmand. One cool little detail is they actually have FW engraved into the atomizer there, which is a pretty cool touch. You know, it's something you normally get with higher end designers, and sometimes niche doesn't even have that. So, you know, I mean, they're really pushing some buttons with the little details and stuff that you don't always get from premium brands. You know, Les Beaux Eau de Toilette has never really been known for having the best performance. It's fine. It doesn't, you know, it gets the job done, but this one does perform better and it's much more affordable. You know, Les Beaux Eau de Toilette, it's a bit harder to get below retail. You know, I was looking the other day, Macy's has it in stock at full retail, obviously, so it seems like it's starting to get a little bit easier to get your hands on. But as far as discounters are concerned, oftentimes that and the Le Parfum and especially Paradise Garden, they're pretty much always sold out. So if you don't want to pay full retail and you don't want to wait around, you could get this one here, save a lot of money, get some better performance, and you know, you can put that money towards some other things, some more clones or whatever you got to pay for. Next up, we have Rayanne Tradition Insurrection II Wild. So you guys probably remember this one getting a ton of hype back in the day, right around the time that Mugler's Pure Havane was on the way out. And that's, you know what, that's probably another one that got discontinued right there at the peak of its hype when it was just all over the place and then gone. And this has been out for a very long time, so you know it's one that's been readily available for quite some time, and it's one that people were jumping over to when you couldn't buy Pure Havane anymore. It's got tobacco, honey, vanilla. It smells absolutely wonderful. You know, it's a really, really good representation of, you know, what that Mugler scent was, and it's one of those things where you really don't have to stress about hunting down that original when you have a clone that's this good. And that really brings a lot of peace of mind to a lot of people, myself included, because I only have a 1 bottle of Pure Havane. And I bought that after it was discontinued. So I was hunting for it and I paid up for it. It sucked, right? I should have gotten it sooner. But that's all I need because I can get this instead. And like I said, been out for a long time. Any discounter is going to carry this. I think you're expecting to pay $35 to $40. It's a really, really good performing take on that DNA, and it's phenomenal for fall and winter time. That tobacco, honey, vanilla, it's beautiful. Dusty, creamy, powdery, almost like a benzoin in here too. It smells great. Next up we have Rue Broca Touche. It's an eau de parfum concentration. Now Rue Broca, I can't remember. What are these? I don't know. Someone tell me down below because they are, it's kind of like, you know, how Latafa, Alhambra and things like that, they kind of do a little spin-off. They did that here. So Rue Broca is connected to something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. And not that it matters, right? But what this one is about is it's a clone of Ultra Male. So there's another one out there too, Afnan 9 p.m. and it's great as well. With a lot of these clones where there are multiple of them, for the most part, all of the main ones are going to work, you know. So if you're getting overwhelmed and you don't know what you should pick, you know, it's not anything to necessarily stress over. I try to offer variety whenever I can, and because I've talked about 9 p.m. a lot, here's yet another really good clone if maybe you want to go this way instead. The number one thing I've seen is, that Ultra Male doesn't have the performance that it used to have, right? And this is not exclusive to Ultra Male. Most of you guys know and are well aware and have experienced the effects of reformulation over the years, whether it's due to greed or just due to IFRA restrictions and what they have to adhere to in order to stay legal. That sucks, but given they're not indie brands, they don't really have to play by the same rules and whatever, that's kind of what they have to do. And so if that has applied to you, you bought a bottle of Ultra Male new and it's not as good as your old one, and you can't and don't want to track down and spend big money on vintage bottles, which is just kind of a waste for most people, get one of the clones. 9 p.m. is going to hold up. Rue Broca Touche Eau de Parfum is going to hold up as well. Get you that pear sweetness down to a T. And actually, this one has more of a pear smell like Ultra Male. 9 p.m. they use apple instead of pear, so there's actually a little bit of a difference. This one might be a little bit closer off the opening, which I really like. Last up for this video, we have Fomo Illusion done Soir. Okay, so this is by far the least popular release from Fomo. Right now they have 4, right? They have Fraghead's Asylum, Gary's Den, this one, and then the newest Envy, right? But they released the first 3 together at once, right? So between them, Gary's Den, Fraghead's Asylum, and this one just you don't really hear about all that much. And this is a clone of MFK Grand Soir, which essentially is an amber bomb. That's really what it is. Now there is some vanilla, some tonka, and some benzoin in there as well, but it's an amber scent through and through. And it's one that I get frustrated about because I forget about it and then I smell it and I'm like, holy crap, that is an absolute beauty of a scent. So I have Grand Soir, the real deal, very expensive. Okay, this one is not. It's under $40. It's a straight concentration and it has amazing performance. So like I said, not going to be as common of a choice, but if you do want to have a bit of a different, more unique fall and winter scent without spending a ton of money on the real deal, and you want one that has great performance, definitely get your hands on this stuff. It is a phenomenal scent. Great quality, very impressive all the way around. All right, guys, there you have it. Some very strong fragrance clones that are actually stronger than the more expensive original, which is just pretty crazy. So I'll link all these down below. You're going to have to shop on discounters to buy these, so I'm going to make it easy for you. It'll all be laid out. Like I said, for the rare stuff, if you do want to get, for example, Blue Electrique, Lomo Team, or whatever it might be, even something like Les Beaux Les Parfums or Paradise Garden, just always out of stock, jump on my mailing list and texting list at the link and number down below. We're sending out emails all the time when rare stuff comes in. Just recently, Paradise Garden popped back up again. I sent out an email, notified everybody, sold out quick, but so many people were able to get a bottle because they were signed up. So if you hit the link down below, enter your email, you'll be opted in. And when you see that number down below, you just send any text to that number, just anything at all, and you'll be opted in there as well. The text is really the way to go because it's like an instant notification right to your phone. So, keep that in mind. It's not bad to do both just so you have that backup. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.